Today on the menu, we're covering one of the most classic French cooking techniques, and it's called Mirepoix. I'm going to show you the classic 2:1 ratio, what size to cut your Mirepoix, and what type of dishes that you'll see Mirepoix in. So what is Mirepoix exactly? Well, Mirepoix is just a combination of onions, carrots, and celery that's cooked down in a little bit of fat like olive oil or butter, and it creates an aromatic base or foundation for so many recipes like stock, sauces, soups, gravies, and even braised dishes like delicious short ribs. And guys, after this video, you're gonna start noticing Mirepoix in so many recipes. A little history behind the word Mirepoix. In the 18th century, the Duke of Mirepoix, which is located in southern France, his chef created the base for Mirepoix, the carrots, celery, and onions. And what's astonishing is, still to this day, hundreds and hundreds of years later, we still use the same cooking technique in professional kitchens. So the classic Mirepoix ratio is going to be 2 parts onion to 1 part carrot to 1 part celery. And we're going to measure this by weight and not by volume. An example of this would be 1 pound of Mirepoix would be 8 ounces of onion, 4 ounces of carrots, and 4 ounces of celery. And we do this ratio because if you have too much carrots, the Mirepoix is going to be overly sweet. Too much celery, it's going to be overly bitter. And the onion just brings everything together. One of the questions I get asked the most is what size to cut my Mirepoix, and it solely depends on what you're cooking. For example, if you're making a quick pan sauce or a velouté, I'm going to tell you to do a fine brunoise or a small dice, because we really want that Mirepoix to break down and disappear into that sauce. But if you're going to do short ribs or a braised dish or even soup, I'm going to tell you to do more of a medium dice, because those vegetables will hold their shape and they won't turn into mush. And then if you're making stocks, I'm going to say go with a large dice or a rough chop, because those stocks are going to be cooked for hours and hours and then strained out in the end. Okay, so let's start to cook our Mirepoix. So typically we're going to start with about a tablespoon of butter or olive oil, and then we're going to turn our heat to like a medium-low heat, add our Mirepoix, and then cook it slowly over the next 8 to 10 minutes. The goal here is not to add any color. We just want to soften the veggies. The onions should be translucent, and the carrots and celery should be tender. What I see a lot of cooks do, and what not to do, is to saute or brown our vegetables. We're not trying to cook these vegetables fast. Again, we're trying to bring out the natural sweetness in the vegetables. But there is a time that it's okay to brown or caramelize the vegetables, and that's when you're making a veal stock or a chicken stock. Typically, you'll saute those vegetables with Mirepoix with a little tomato paste deglazed with some red wine, and then that's just going to give you a depth of flavor or richness to those dishes. So neither technique is wrong, just know what you're going for. Okay, so let's talk about some other Mirepoix variations. There's one called a white Mirepoix, and that is onions or leeks, celery or celery root, and a parsnips. And you'll see these in like light or pale colored sauces. You also will see something called the Holy Trinity in places like Louisiana, and Cajun and Creole cuisine in things like jambalaya. And so we're going to swap out the carrots for green bell peppers there. And then you'll also notice something called sofrito in Latin America. And that's going to be a combination of peppers, onions, garlic, cilantro, and with all those different Mirepoix variations, the common thread is that it's the foundation for whatever we're going to cook. The uses for Mirepoix are endless. You'll see them in braised dishes like short ribs or pork shank. You'll see them in almost any soup that you make. You're also going to see it in rice pilaf. It's one of those ingredients or flavor bases that's like the silent ingredient, but it makes everything taste better. There you have it, guys. I hope you learned a lot about Mirepoix today. It's one of those foundational recipes that you'll see in so many recipes. And if you liked this video and you found it helpful, please like and subscribe. I'm really passionate about creating Culinary 101 videos, and I'll see you in the next one.